So apparently Poland has the lowest international homicide rate in Europe. Great, very safe. On the other hand, in the UK, the crime is through the roof, especially in the bigger cities. On yet the other hand, last week, the UK signed some amazing AI deals with the Americans, right? Where I think Microsoft pledged £22 billion over the next 4 years to invest in the UK, and Google pledged £5 billion over the next 2 years to invest in AI, tech, and I think nuclear power. That's the future. And that, we can't, no doubt. In Poland, you see, last week they signed a deal, which everyone is celebrating as a big figure in Poland, about Poland sending lots of chickens to China. It's a great deal, I'm sure, but a slightly different type of deals going on. Last week I was interviewed by the Telegraph journalist. They put the article, it's today in the paper, about this thing about Poles moving back to Poland and how it affected, UK and why, right? And I've explained my point of view. I've explained why it happened and what I thought about this. And I see a lot of you guys commenting under my videos, and it's everywhere. People thinking Poland is sort of this haven, a place everybody would want to move, the best place to live in, right? It probably was, but maybe not in the future. But I'm also being asked often, would I want to move back to Poland? So no, the question is I would not want to move back to Poland. I live in the UK, that's my home. But because it's so popular and there's so many people talking about this, I thought it's going to be a good idea if I look at, if I was, let's say, offered this chance, you can move to Poland or stay in the UK, which one would you choose? No problems, no money, like whichever way you want is going to happen. What would you do? So the first thing I would do is probably look over the next 1 to 3 years potential for both countries, and then I would evaluate my ideas, right, or decision if I want to stay or want to move. I've done it for myself, but I want to do it for you guys here, and I'm going to bring up 5 main topics I would look at, or I have, to decide if moving to Poland would be a good idea, which I don't think so, and why I think staying in the UK is a good idea. So I'm going to start with, well, there'll be 5 points: safety, money, work slash business opportunities, leadership, and future perspective. Okay, I'm going to briefly talk about 5, and I'm going to let you make your own decision. And if you're watching it from Poland, let me know if you agree. I'm sure a lot of people from Poland will disagree with me because I've seen this happening in the past. If you're living in the UK, let me know if that changes your perspective or your mind. And let me know if you would want to move to Poland after what I said. If you still think the UK is done and Poland is the future, is this, promised land, which I don't think so, okay? But again, it's probably controversial. Many people will hate it, but that's my opinion here. So let's start with safety. So Poland, and no doubt, Poland is absolutely the safest place, I think, in Europe right now. Right now, it has been over the last 10 years, right? Crime is low crime, high trust society still, kind of. We don't like governments in Poland, and we don't trust many people. But it's kind of what it used to be, high trust society in the UK, I suppose. Immigration is still kind of okay-ish, although it's changed a lot over the last 5 years, maybe even 3. So when you look at this now, compared to what it is like in the UK, it's safe. Now, the problem you see is Poland is becoming more and more dangerous, not just because of the crime, like from the same reasons we have in the UK, crime, or thefts or burglaries or something, right? It's because Poland is facing it's got a real threat of international conflict breaking up there. As you know, there was some Russians or whatever drones flew over to Poland, and they just fall off the sky, random places across the country. Poland was not able to defend the country against drones. We're hearing about this, Russian fighter jets popping in and out Polish territory, Estonian, whatever. Like the tensions are very high, and everybody can feel it, right? But in the UK, you have a high chance of your phone being snatched from your hand if you're in London. But overall, you're probably going to be okay, right? Like you wouldn't expect fighter jets, military jets from other country flying over the UK or something, and maybe one of them falling off of the sky or a drone coming down. But in Poland, it's a real risk and it's increasing, right? It's accelerating and it's not going to stop, in my opinion. It's only going to get worse, especially in eastern part of Poland. So safety-wise, last 30 years, yes, Poland was absolutely on top. Now I think it's going to get different. I think Poland's going to face lots of uncertainties and safety concerns. So if I would look over the next 1 to 3 years, I would say UK, because of the changing environment, how people got fed up with everything, the huge investments, which I'll talk about in a minute, will force some sort of approach where crime will have to be addressed in UK, okay, a little bit more than it is now at least. But in Poland, Poland is now entering the uncharted waters where they don't know what's going to happen next, and it can go from little drones every now and then falling out of the sky, or just like literal overnight explosions, and like nobody will know why, right? So over the next 3 years, I would consider Poland not to be as safe as it is now, where the UK is probably going to increase. It's going to be safer than it is now. And even if the conflict will break up in Western Europe, UK is so far from it that it's still, even it would be affected somehow, I'm sure, it would not affect it directly as Poland or Lithuania or Estonia, right? So this is an important factor to consider now. Not in 10 years, that's going to be a different story. I'm talking about now, next 1 to 3 years. And if you watch my other videos, you guys know I'm very optimistic about UK, long term. I keep saying the next maybe 1 to 3 years is going to be a little bit more pain, but things will change because UK is very low now. It has been for a long time. So now it's time for, go back up again. Nothing is forever, right? You never stay as a shitty country forever, as UK has been recently. So let's move on to money, okay? So there was the articles, people saying that Poles will become wealthier than Brits by 2030, and Poland is to become a member of G20 countries, right? The biggest economies. Great news. But you see, I don't think so. Sorry, I don't think Poles will become wealthier by 2030. You see, the future of the economy, future of money is, whichever the money is, financial collapse maybe will change it, whatever that is, but it will be tech, like it or not. We know it, right? Tech, energy, robots, all of it, AI. So in the UK, just last week, there was a huge deal signed between Americans and Brits, where Google pledged £5 billion investment over the next 2 years. Okay, that's a very short time. And Microsoft is going to invest £22 billion over the next 4 years. So it's £27 billion investment over the 4 years into most critical infrastructure, future infrastructure, which is tech, robots, right, and nuclear power. That is it. If you don't have it, you're not going to exist as a serious country in the near future, next 3 years. Interestingly enough, when I keep talking about 1 3 years period, that is now investment, coming through for the next 4 years. So it's like, I'm onto something, right? I suppose I've seen it coming. So if you look on Poland, on the other hand, Poland last week signed a deal with China to export chickens to China. You see, and Poland's talking about it. It's like everybody's like, yeah, and Polish foreign minister was like very proud of himself. He signed this deal. It's great. I'm not saying no. Any deal is great, but these are chickens. Okay, these are chickens, and this is like 300 years ago. It would be the same sort of business, right? You just raise a chicken and you send it to another country so they can eat it. There is no future in that. Okay, there's a future in food, of course. Like you can, growing food, but basing your economy on it and expecting to be the bigger than, for example, Britain, when there's all this tech investment coming in, I think it's kind of naive, okay? So if I would look at the money, Poland now is still, there's a gap between how much people may earn on average in Poland versus the UK. Life is very expensive now in Poland, especially like if you want to travel around, you want to, Polish people know this, right? It's like, it's cheaper to go on holiday to, I don't know, Egypt or somewhere than to stay in go to Polish Sea. So life is pretty expensive in Poland. The wages are not as high as people claim, apart from maybe bigger cities. And looking long-ish term, not too long, 3 years, I can't see any investments, anything coming through it at all. There's always talk about, Poland was meant to have their own electric cars and tech and this biggest airport in Central Europe. None of it happened. And I said, I'll tell you about this when we get to the leadership, which is point 4. But looking at the next 3 years, I think UK is going to see a huge investment boost, and it's going to actually start turning a corner where Poland is just nowhere nowhere near making a real breakthrough. Poland keeps making money by sending chickens somewhere else, or just being producing, like offering services to Germany or EU, and there's no significant investment in Poland when it comes to tech and development, and that is the future. So money-wise, I think over the next 3 years, money-wise will not go, Poland will not get richer, wealthier than the UK, the people in the UK or other Western countries. Now, point 3 would be a work/business opportunities. You see, Poland was always a very bureaucratic country. I've run businesses in Poland, so it was like it's horrendous experience. Right? It's really bad. Taxes are complicated. Government hates you when you invest, when you're an entrepreneur. People don't like entrepreneurs as much. Maybe to change it a little bit, but there's this kind of thinking. Poles think about making money as not something good. Like being poor is a virtue in Poland. Okay, people seeing being poor as something good, and it's a cultural thing. It's obviously a religious thing as well. I'm not going to talk about it, but it's overall. To open a business, it's pretty difficult comparing to what it is in the UK. It takes you 1 day, you can open a business. I've been opening my own businesses for my clients, like bam, 1 day, 2 days, you can trade, right? You start making money. Poland, it takes much longer, and then you have all sort of processes to go through, all, people trying to basically go against you and put some sort of challenges in front of you. When in the UK, it's fairly straightforward. People like making money, but they're very open about this, or at least they were. So no problem here, right? Work opportunities. Now, you say work-wise in the UK, it's been difficult recently, right? People can't find good jobs. They're not well-paid jobs in the UK. That's the problem, right? If you have your job, your salary probably haven't increased over the last 10 years. Right? You're probably making the same money as you have been 5 years ago, which is insane. I mean, just inflation went up, like the cost of living went so much higher, the inflation. So essentially, if you're making the same money as you have been making 5 years ago, it's probably actually 30 or 40% less of what it felt like 5 years ago, right? So, the number is like, the same, 30 grand a year, but it's now worth, I don't know, £22,000 a year comparing to what it was 5 years ago, which is insane. But that's why people can't afford things. It's a struggle, real struggle. So I have to admit, in the UK right now, the job market is rubbish. The salaries are absolutely disastrous, rubbish. They don't raise. There's no high-paying jobs. But as I said before, over the next few years, there'll be lots of investments into a tech, which is also going to create some jobs, right? So in Poland, on the other hand, you have none of these investments coming through, so the jobs will not be created as much in this growing sectors of the economy, okay? And that is difficult. You can't grow your economy by selling chickens, apples, or potatoes, okay? Sorry, you can't. It's as important. I understand. I love farmers. I wish it's different, but it's just the reality of business, global economy. It's not going to work this way. So I think business opportunities are still, over the next 3 years, going to be better here in the UK comparing to what's going to happen in Poland. And we see now lots of big businesses moving back from Poland. I think yesterday I saw the article where French giant Carrefour, they have like supermarkets, I think 800 supermarkets across Poland. They're selling all the assets and moving out from Poland. I don't know what the reason, I didn't read it, but it's just, I saw it somewhere, right? So I don't think so. I don't think next 3 years business opportunities will be better in Poland than in the UK. And work-wise, I don't think so as well. Especially not when it comes to higher paid jobs or maybe better opportunities, right? Because if you get into AI, job in tech, the opportunities long term are better than getting into some sort of transport business in Poland or chicken farm. Now, 4, that's a big one. It's a leadership. And I think for me personally, it's the biggest problem I always had with Poland, even when I was still living there, and now I'm watching from a perspective, from a distance. I can't understand how is it even allowed. It's like, so you see, in the UK, we're being governed by the Labour Party and our beloved Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer. Well, I'm not the biggest fan of him. Not Labour either. But what I can say, what I do like to see in the UK is, no matter really who's in power, the overall country is still going, it's improving, it's a progress sort of, right? There's a kind of like a long-term plan to keep moving country somewhere. So there's some sort of investments coming in. Labour or Conservatives, there are still investments coming in. They're still kind of considering what is good for country long term. Okay, we can argue about how much and what. Okay, that's no point. My point is, if you look at the same thing in Poland, you have one government who's coming in saying they're going to promise you we're going to do electric cars and some investment and this biggest airport in Central Europe, and then obviously half of the Poland hates them because they're a very divided society politically. And then 4 years later, a new government comes. So what the first thing they do, they destroy everything was done up until now because of the previous government, just because they hate each other. Okay, it's not like it was a bad idea what they did before. No, the normal government, what I see in the UK, is still happening. They would come in and continue the projects which are actually making sense. In Poland, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. It makes sense. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. They want to destroy it for the sake of destroying because they're controlled by some other party, by some other powers or whatever. They can't carry on with the plan, right? So therefore, there's never ever any significant project finished in Poland, right? Never significant investment. None of it's ever done. The biggest one is this biggest airport in Central Europe, which was meant to be done. They talk about this for like 10 years. And maybe something, still nothing been done, right? There's something, maybe they started digging some holes, but there's nothing, right? Nothing. And the same thing was with the electric car. I think like 10 years ago, I think there's Chinese who were trying to give Poland some sort of a know-how and tech so they can start building. They haven't. Like Vietnam managed to build their own electric car, but Poland can't still. It never happened. Nothing, right? Nothing. Promises, lots of money burned, boom, nothing. 10 years later, no, nothing. Leadership is the weakest link in Poland, I suppose. It has been for the last 35 years. And it has been the most, I think this lost opportunity was because of the leadership. So the biggest opportunities Poland actually had in front of them, Polish people had in front of them, was actually wasted because of their weak leadership, okay? Because of political leaders are absolutely, I think they're the lowest of the lows, right? I mean, whenever I see them talk and do something, I can't stop myself thinking like, why would anybody vote these people in? And the reason is because it's not about what they're actually going to do, but they're from the other side. So we know, whoever comes in, as long as they're not from this political party. And then the next party comes 4 years later and the same thing happens over and over. And then families fight against each other, friends, people, which government we are pro or against, right? It's like, it doesn't matter what they're going to do for the country, for people. No, it doesn't matter. That's like for later. Let's focus on now who's right is right. Or I'm more right, I'm more righteous than you are. It's like, it's so obvious in Poland, and that's what Poland can never move ahead with anything significant, right? So there's always some sort of like, yeah, we can do a bit, send some chickens to China, some this and that, but when it comes to a big investment, big projects, impossible to get through, impossible to push through. So leadership is an absolute lowest of the lows in Europe, I think. We are seeing it now playing out because of these conflicts and dangers coming in from East, and suddenly now whole Poland and the leaders are surprised, like, oh my God, what do we do? It's like, can you imagine there's a conflict on Polish border, right? Been going for like 4 years nearly. And they are now, Polish government now trying to figure out what sort of a security systems against drones to put in place because they can't protect the country against the drones. 4 years, right? Everybody with a half brain would know, say, hey guys, there are drones flying in Ukraine a lot. Maybe we can just do something to protect the sky in Poland when, in worst case scenario, when things happen, which they have happened last week or 2 weeks ago. No, it was fight about who, when, what, why. Nothing was put in place. Now, as it always is in Poland, last minute, oh my God, what do we do? And they're going to spend billions of money on some projects from whatever, America or something, which maybe will be implemented 3 years later. And, it's like such a mess, right? At the UK, again, like I'm not in favor of the current leadership. I think actually they're shit, but at least they like the best thing you can see is like the deal was signed, right? With the AI, the tech deal was signed. It's the Labour Party. They signed a deal. I think they know they're not going to be here for much longer in the government, but the deal was signed because it's good for the country. So again, I think that's a plus for the UK. And the last one is a future perspective. So it's already, I talked about this a little bit, right? But I think the biggest risk for Poland is obviously the conflict, which is brewing, right, on the eastern border. Poland obviously spent lots of money in defense and all of that, and is just being called the biggest, strongest army in Europe, whatever. It's like the problem is like these things are not in there yet. Okay, so all the investments in the tech, not tech, in the equipment, military equipment, it's been committed to, been paid for maybe, but it's not there yet. Like all these tanks and jets and whatever, they're not there yet, okay? It's going to come over the next 3 years. Whether we know, we can see the Russians are not kind of, I don't think they're going to wait 3 years until Poland is strong enough so they're going to stop bothering Poles, right? It's like, no, it's going to be happening over and over. So the next 3 years is probably, in my opinion, it's going to, these kind of attacks will increase. I hope I'm wrong, but there's a big chance it actually might become a kind of war, conflict. I don't see like, you know, tanks invading Poland or anything like this in the big time. But I think like, you know, the attacks on and off, drones, maybe some fighter jets, maybe some explosion, maybe something will burn. Like it will be just constant distractions and challenges for Poland to stay, to be able to focus on growth, for example, right? Or maintaining a safe country, keeping it safe and allowing people to actually, you know, live their lives. I think it's going to be extremely difficult over the next 3 years. When in the UK, it's like I said, it's too far from a conflict to be directly involved to see some sort of problems spilling across the UK. We might see some sort of, you know, civil unrest, maybe some people fighting over the immigration or whatever, but I don't think it might be like, you know, local problems, right? Not going to be across the whole country, I think. And again, over the next 3 years, I think the perspectives, I mean, it's hard not to see it. Just the investments from biggest tech giants over the next, and you know, it's not 10 years investment. We're talking about 2 years. It's a very short time. I mean, literally, they're going to probably start putting money in like in 3 months' time because they're going to start building these things, that data tech data centers, AI centers, all of it, right? It's going to happen now. So in 3 years' time, these things will be operational in the super fast changing environment in the world. So I think that is a very promising sign, right? And in Poland, not so much. So I think, look, and overall, like I said, I'm a biased. I would not move to Poland. I've been recording videos about this, why, and I've been proven right. The time to move to Poland was anytime between now and 30 years ago. Now, sit tight. If you are based in Poland, good, that's fine. I'm not saying it's going to be absolutely disaster, but it's not going to be as good as people think it is. There are many problems and challenges people don't want to talk about or don't want to admit, especially Poles. But if you stay in Poland, that's fine. Stay there. I'm sure it's going to be okay. You'll be okay. It's, you know, long term, I say 10 years, Poland has a chance to be a great country. As of this next 3 years is going to be a very turbulent period, which will decide the future of Poland. And in the UK, it's just, I think we've been low for so long. It was so bad that it's time for a change. And people are desperate for a change. They're tired of everything. Politicians, businesses, everyone wants that change. So it will have to happen. It has to happen. There's no way you can stop it. So let me know what you think. If you agree with my point, that's great. If you don't agree with my point, that's absolutely fine. Leave me a comment, tell me why. Just don't leave me a comment, rubbish, bullshit. What's the point, right? That people leaving me like comments like this, especially Poles saying, oh, that's absolutely not true. Tell me why. And don't tell me about the, you know, oh, because we are great. Like, give me reasons, okay? I'm open to conversation as long as it's an actual conversation rather than just you calling me names. And if you live in the UK, tell me, would you still consider moving to Poland now? And I strongly recommend not to. And do you think the UK, do you feel it? And do you think and do you feel it that the UK is about to change for the better? Because I do. There are lots of problems to address, but we're sort of starting addressing them. And obviously immigration is one of them. But it's being sorted apparently, I think from last week, right? 1 in, 1 out. Immigrants being sent back to France or something. Let's see and wait. Let's wait and see. But I really want to hear from you what you think. If you have anything else to add, please let me know. If you want to join my community where we can talk about these things a little bit more in depth, or if you need any help with anything with your life, moving ahead in business, that's the place you can contact me as well. You can find a link below in the video description, and I'll put it in the comment under the video as well. So if anyone wants to talk to me, do business or whatever, that's the place you can find me. Because I can't answer all the comments. I'm answering comment by one on the YouTube, but once I answer that comment, then there's like hundreds of other comments coming through from other videos. I can't keep track of conversations going on over YouTube, right? So if you want to talk to me, or if you want to support me, obviously subscribe to my channel. If you're not subscribing, leave a like. And if you want to support even further, then join my community. It's $10 a month, $10 a month. So it's like 2 cups of coffee. You can just do it to support me. But don't worry if you don't want to, you can't. Absolutely fine. Stay here. Give me a like. Give me a comment. Subscribe if you're not subscribing. That is an absolutely as much as I can ask for. So thank you so much for all your support. And let's have that conversation. Let's see if I'm wrong. We will see it in about 1 year, maybe 2 years, if I was wrong. And if I wasn't, I suppose I'm not going to be that much wrong. But well, let's see. Anyways, have a lovely day. I'll see you soon. Cheers.